Emerson was born in Barrie and lived at 34 Center Street, just a few blocks away from Unity. He had 3 siblings and was born on December 21st, 1895. Emerson spent his high school career at Barrie Collegiate Institute. As you can see, the building has been torn down and all that is left is a single chimney. Before entering the war, Emerson worked as a clerk.
He enlisted on October 15, 1914, a couple months before he turned 18. Emerson was one of the first men to enlist in this area, and he became part of the Canadian Expeditionary Force. This is a group of men and women who volunteered to go overseas to fight or be a nurse. Emerson said he wanted to fight out of duty, and he would rather go overseas than have his dad fight. He trained in Toronto for a little while, and later they were sent to England in May 1915 for some additional training. Once they were ready, they went to Flanders in France, and they fought there until September.
This is actual footage of the soldiers during the Battle of the Somme. While overseas, Emerson was a private in the 20th Battalion that fought in this battle. Now, during the battle, there were over 1 million total casualties, and around 25,000 of those were Canadians. Unfortunately, Emerson Armstrong was one of them. Emerson died at Albert Bapin Road, Courcelette, in the Battle of the Moquet Farm, which was part of the larger Battle of the Somme. The farm was about 1 kilometer northwest of the village of Pozieres, halfway between Pozieres and Thiepval. At the time, the farm was a heavily defended German base, and taking the farm would allow the British forces to outflank and give them a better chance at taking the German base at Thiepval. The Canadian troops joined the fight on September 5th to help the Australians, who had made many unsuccessful attempts at securing this area. On September 15th, 1 day before the initial capture of Moquet, Emerson Armstrong was hit with an artillery shell and died instantly. On September 26th, the Canadians took control of the farm, only 11 days after Armstrong died.
Emerson was a very positive person. This was reflected in the letters he wrote to his parents back home. He was willing to serve our country and risked his life fighting in World War I. The day after his parents found out that he died, they received their last letter from him. Emerson was a Presbyterian, which is a denomination of Christianity. He was a very courageous young man and was willing to serve on the front lines in the war. Even in the worst of times with bad conditions surrounding him, he still found the good in the worst of circumstances. He made a good reputation for himself and was loved by his community. They showed this by naming a street after him around where he grew up. Emerson's name is featured on Vimy Ridge Memorial, located in Vimy, France. It was created to commemorate the fallen Canadian soldiers who fell in France, whose bodies could not be recovered. This is the Vimy Memorial shown above. There is also a monument in Barrie's Memorial Square called the Barrie Cenotaph, with Emerson's name engraved on it, along with others who died in World War I from around here. This is the cenotaph with the soldier's statue on top. He also has a grave that can be found in St. Paul's Cemetery in Innisfil.
Emerson's sacrifice helped move towards independence for Canada and proved that Canada had a large contribution to World War I. Thank you for making it so we can live in a free country today. Without Emerson's sacrifice and others like him, Canada wouldn't be the same today. We will never forget Emerson's sacrifice.
James Orr Burke.
James Orr Burke was born on December 6, 1923. He was born in Toronto and lived there for the first 6 years of his life, and then moved to Barrie, Ontario, and lived there for 15 years. His parents were John and Mary Burke. James also had many brothers that eventually went on to serve in the war. Growing up, he attended Victoria Public School and then later went to Barry Collegiate Institute, which is now Barry Central. James was very active and enjoyed sports. He especially enjoyed playing hockey and ice skating. James was a member of St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church and attended Sunday school there when he was younger. He lived on 130 Mulcaster Street in Barrie, and this is what the residence looks like today. James served in the Air Force after he completed his training in the No. 1 Manning Depot in Toronto. After months of preparation, James graduated in September 1942 as a wireless air gunner. 2 months later, James traveled overseas in November 1942 to defend his country and support the war. Being in the military was not a new thing for James. James's father, John J. Burke, served in World War I for 3.5 years in the military. Even though James knew the dangers and consequences of the war, he still joined to support his country. He served for 3 years during World War II. James was not the only son of John that contributed to the war. He had 4 brothers, Edward, Edmund, John, and David, who all also served in the war. They each contributed differently. Edward was a radio technician for the Royal Canadian Air Force. Edmund and John also served in the Air Force. The older brother, David, served as a sea cadet for the Army. He helped with naval training for new soldiers.
James Orr Burke was a pilot officer of the Royal Canadian Air Force. Even though his rank said that he was a pilot, his job didn't actually concern flying planes. Instead, he was a part of the 422nd Squadron and worked as a wireless air gunner on a British plane called the Sunderland. The Sunderland was a flying boat patrol bomber that was used to find and destroy enemy German submarines. James had 2 main jobs on the Sunderland. Those jobs were to operate the radio for communication with their base and to use the guns on the plane to defend themselves if they were ever attacked. However, on May 24th of 1944, tragedy struck. While patrolling the waters, the Sunderland came under anti-aircraft fire, more generally known as flak. The Sunderland, which was already damaged from earlier battles, could not reach safety and crashed into the ocean. The crash killed James and the 11 other men in his squadron. The bodies of James and his crew were never found, and they were all presumed dead the same day. Soon following the incident, James's father received a letter informing him of the tragedy. The letter outlined how James left early one morning for patrol but did not return.
James Orr Burke is remembered at the Barrie Cenotaph and has a gravestone at the Runnymede Memorial in Surrey, United Kingdom. He and many other soldiers risked and lost their lives fighting for the freedom of us today.
Mae Belle Sampson was a nursing sister in World War I. She was one of the 43 Canadian women to die in the war. She was born on May 6, 1890 in Duntrin, Ontario, which at the time was a part of the Nottawasaga Township. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Hugh A. Sampson, lived there at the time. Mae Belle was around 5 feet and 6 inches tall. Her hair color was fair, so presumably light brown or a darker blonde. Her eyes were blue, with a smallpox mark over her left eye. Mae Belle Sampson was known for her sympathetic care and was said to be a warm, tender-hearted, and loyal person. Mae Belle was not married before heading off to war. She studied nursing in a 3-year program at Hamilton City Hospital. She graduated in 1913, around a year before the war.
On September 24, 1914, in Quebec City, Mae Belle Sampson enlisted into the CAMC, which is known as the Canadian Armed Medical Corps. Mae Belle was in the first group ever to be sent overseas to help the Canadian Expeditionary Force. The Canadian Armed Medical Corps consists of many roles, including field ambulances, casualty clearing stations, stationary hospitals, and hospital ships, which Mae Belle would later board. Mae Belle spent approximately 2 years at the Canadian Stationary Hospital in Le Touquet, France. She is part of the first draft of nurses and sisters to go overseas in October 1915.
She was transferred to go help in the city of Salonika in Greece at the Canadian Convalescent Hospital. She helped care for the soldiers for 1 year from October 1916 to August 1917.
Mae Belle served at the Canadian General Hospital in Orpington, Kent for only 19 days. She was sent to this hospital October 24, 1917. She was found to have diphtheria and discharged November 12, 1917, and left to get treated in England.
While serving overseas in England, Mae Belle became ill with diphtheria, a possibly threatening sickness that affected her service capabilities. She was unable to help with the war effort and was sent to the hospital in England, and later sent to Canada on a 2-week hospital leave in October 1917.
Once Mae Belle recovered from diphtheria, the medical board reassigned her to transport duty, which meant she was to care for patients on hospital ships. She was assigned to the Landovery Castle, which carried wounded soldiers home from Britain to Canada. The Landovery Castle was marked with the Red Cross and was unarmed. On June 27, 1917, the Landovery Castle was torpedoed by the German U-boat SMU-86. There was a total of 258 people aboard the Landovery Castle when it sank. Only 24 people survived, and many of them were shot after finding safety on lifeboats. It had been bringing soldiers back from Canada to Britain when it sank. After the incident happened, it encouraged many more Canadians to enlist in the war. The Landovery Castle was used in propaganda to motivate the war effort.
As a result of Mae Belle's efforts in the war, she was awarded with 4 medals: the Mons Star for her bravery and courage, Service Award for voluntarily being one of the first nurses to enlist, and also a Victory Medal. The last one, the Silver Cross, was given to her mother as a token of love and remembrance.
Mae Belle Sampson's name was put on the Halifax Memorial to remember her dedication and sacrifice for our country.
The nursing sisters had a major role in World War I as well as any wars afterwards. It is important for us to remember them along with the soldiers who fought for our freedom. The nurses threatened their lives to keep the soldiers well, resulting in the success Canada had in the war.
Lest we forget all the nursing sisters of World War I who worked hard to care for the wounded soldiers that fought in the war.
Thomas Hawkins was born on July 12, 1924. He was born in a small town outside of London, Ontario, called Forest. His parents were Walter Hawkins and Sarah Hawkins. He grew up in a Christian home, and his father was a pastor. He had 6 sisters, and he was the youngest. His sisters were Isabel, Audrey, Alice, Ray, Margaret, and Liz. In school, he excelled in music and English. He was an excellent saxophone player and enjoyed jazz music. He also loved poetry and would write his own poems. He was very eager to go to the war and tried several times to enlist.
Thomas enlisted to join World War II when he was 17 in 1941, but was denied due to his age. The next year, he was denied again. He then applied for the training program in London, Ontario in July 1943. The following year, he was accepted to be a private in the military. He did his basic training in Chatham, Ontario, and advanced training in Ipperwash Army Base.
Thomas Hawkins was a private for the last year of the war. He served from December 1944 to March 1945. He fought in battles around France and Germany as part of the Canadian Army. He also participated in campaigns such as the retaking of the Rhineland in France and the Battle of Hochwald Forest in Germany. He was injured multiple times before eventually being sent home due to his injuries right before the end of the war in March of 1945. As Thomas and his best friend, Private Poole, were crossing through no man's land, his friend got caught on barbed wire. Thomas's friend tried to get freed from the wire as Thomas kept running. He looked back, and his friend had been bombed. This later had a major impact on his life as it was very traumatizing.
During World War II, Thomas and his fellow troops went walking through tall grasses, and they found a small shack to rest in. However, when they entered, it was heavily fortified by German soldiers. He was shot several times throughout his body, then shot on his ankles so he couldn't escape. He lay on the ground for several hours, somewhere between 7 and 12 hours, until a stretcher could reach him. Thankfully, after receiving medical care, he survived his injuries.
After the war, Thomas married Ada Marie McLean. He had 5 children: Andrew, Walter, Mark, Peter, and Maggie. Thomas later went on to be a high school English teacher. However, he decided to quit later because he had severe bipolar, which his memories of the war made worse.
Thomas was diagnosed with bipolar sometime in his 40s, but he likely had it since he was a teenager. His memories of the war made his bipolar even worse. He also had members of his family with bipolar as well. Bipolar is a disease in which someone has emotions that regularly change, causing extreme mood swings. These mood swings can affect sleep, energy, and behavior. Mood swings can last several days and can leave a person bedridden. Thomas self-medicated his bipolar with alcohol.
Thomas Hawkins passed away on June 20th, 2013, at the age of 88. He had a short battle with cancer, then passed away. He lived a long life as a Christian, and especially after his battle wounds.
I think when you express, like, whenever in this world where sometimes our freedoms are taken away, if you remember, like sometimes for me when I feel like our freedoms are taken away, I'm like, no, my grandfather fought for this so that I can stand up for myself and I can speak the truth. And when you feel like that, and if you just remember them that way, and you think, oh, he got shot, his life was in turmoil because of his horrible memories, I'm not going to take that in vain and just be a sheep in life. I'm going to stand up for our freedom and just be a little more courageous.
Truman was born on October 21st, 1915, to Maud and Herbert Anderson on 99 Burton Avenue. He was named after his grandfathers William and Albert. He attended church with his family, who was Protestant, and they were a member of the United Church of Canada. He attended a mechanic apprenticeship at Jarvis Collegiate in Toronto and finished in 1932.
Truman William Albert Anderson seemed to be an extroverted and charming man who was at the heart of any party. He was handsome and well-liked by the people at his parties because of how he was always joking and dancing. He was most impressive at the piano, which he played informally and professionally.
He worked as a truck driver and salesman in 1932 for Canada Dry Ginger Ale until 1939. He later worked for Goodrich Oil until he enlisted. He was married on September 14, 1936 to Hazel, and he had a daughter 4 years later named Valerie.
He enlisted in the Canadian Army on July 1, 1940 in Toronto at the 2nd District Depot as a gunner. When he enlisted, he was 5'8" and weighed 142 pounds. He had brown hair and brown eyes. Truman trained as a gunner in July of 1940 at Royal Canadian Artillery Training Centre located in Petois. On the 13th of December 1940, he went to Halifax and boarded a ship to Gourock, Scotland, where he was assigned to the 1st Canadian Artillery Holding Unit. On the 21st of June, he qualified as a sergeant instructor, becomes a lance sergeant on July 1st, and becomes an acting sergeant instructor on the 19th of September. He trained to become an officer on the 21st of June 1943. He completed the training and became a lieutenant on the 7th of February 1943. On the 1st of October, Truman leaves for France. Arrived in France on the 2nd. He was added to the 12th Battalion, part of the 6th Field Regiment, and participated in Operation Veritable, where artillery played a crucial role.
While he was overseas, his daughter got sick with cancer and died at age 6. He received the news in Holland and was unable to attend her funeral.
Lieutenant Truman William Albert Anderson passed away on February 9, 1945, due to getting hit by friendly fire by an anti-aircraft shell. The shells were shot at a low-flying aircraft and ended up hitting the lieutenant and 3 others, injuring the 3 and killing him. The location of his death was in Molenhoek, the Netherlands. After he died at age 28, he was temporarily buried in Nijmegen before being moved to Groesbeek Canadian War Cemetery. His gravestone reads, "Into the light that nevermore shall fade."
Truman received many medals and awards for his service during World War II. He was given the 1939 to 1945 Star, which is awarded to those who fought for 6 months of service on active operations in the Army and Navy, and 2 months for those who were in the aircrew. He also got the France and Germany Star for 1 or more days of service in France, Belgium, Holland, or Germany between June 6, 1944 and May 8, 1945. He also received the Defense Medal, the War Medal 1939 to 1945. Truman was awarded the Canadian Volunteer Medal and Clasp for 60 days of service outside of Canada. Because he died during the war, Truman did not personally receive these medals, but he definitely still earned them.
A soldier known as Anderson Truman William Albert isn't just another name. He sets an example for us, a soldier who pushes through boundaries and sets what the call of duty is. He received multiple medals for his bravery, was promoted to higher ranks, helped with multiple regiments, and died honorably on the field. Yesterday, today, and from now on, we honor his sacrifice by remembering him, who he was, and what he did.